Where can I get the Bhagavad Gita? Yeah, there. Prashant has answered that question. Is that for Bhagavad Gita? Yeah, it is. It's for you only. Correct. Wonderful. Pulling everyone from everywhere to join this class. Well, that's a good seva. Yeah, that's wonderful. That is Prashant. That's what he does. Let us start again. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinnavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Santushtam Santushtas Satatam Yogi
Santushta Satatam Yogi
Yatatma Dridha Nishchayah
Yatatma Dridha Nishchayaha
Mayyarpitamano Buddhihi
Mayyarpitamano Buddhihi
Yo Madbhaktas Same Priyah
Yo Madbhakta Same Priyaha
Yasmanno Dvijate Lokah
Yasmano Dvijate Lokaha
Lokanno Dvijate Chayah
Lokano Dvijate Jayaha
Harsha Marsha Bhayodvegaihi
Harsha Marsha Bhayodvegai
Mukto Yassa Cha Me Priyah.
Mukto Yassa Cha Me Priyaha.
Next one. Yasmat, from whom na udvijate, are not agitated. Lokaha, the people. It's a collective noun for people. Lokaha, janaha, like that. So, lokaha means the collection of people are not agitated by whom. Lokat na udvijate chayah. And who again, is not agitated or disturbed by other people. Harsha, Amarsha. Harsha means excess of elation. Amarsha means that absence of tolerance. Harsha, Marsha, Bhaya, fear. Udvega. Udvega means just panic or any kind of disturbance. From all this, Muktaha, the one who is free, Yaha, that person is dear to me. Sacha me priyaha, such a person is very dear to me. This is the translation. So let us look at this in detail. Yasmat na udvijate lokaha. You see, what happens is that sometimes, even in one's household, one can be a source of fear. Yeah. Sometimes it is happens in a lot of households. Father is coming, as though it's a big tyrant coming, as though Hitler is coming. Father is coming, and everybody goes and hides. And Pujya Swamiji will say, at this time he says, that the only thing that is not afraid is the family dog, which comes to greet this tyrannical person with a tail still wagging. And in some cases, even the dog will not come, So like this, so this is the person who throws their weight around and who scares people by their actions, by their demeanor, and sometimes even by their very presence. They're just intimidating. So that's one form of disturbance, is intimidation. And intimidation can be a silent intimidation, where you just make some big eyes and then you tell them, you through sign language, you just go like this. If you continue to do this, you're going to lose your head, like that you can say. And you just by your, by some communication, you can intimidate them. You can also intimidate by, by your demeanor, certain values that you have which are scary to other people, which frighten other people. You can intimidate by actions. When you throw things, when you're angry, supposing somebody is angry and they keep throwing things, all the china in the house is broken, and that's very intimidating. You disturb the people. So disturbance is by intimidation. It's also by bullying. You bully the people, where whoever you live with and wherever you work, such a person is very frightening. So that is one form of disturbance: intimidation, bullying, tyrannical and dictatorial behaviors. How else can you disturb people? You need not be bullying, you need not be tyrannical, you need not be intimidating. You can still disturb the people. How? You can be a clingy, needy person. One can be. So that as soon as this person comes, the others feel like ducking behind any object that is there, so as not to be seen and caught by this person. A person who is so solipsistic, self-serving, and can only think of oneself. They don't have the wherewithal because their need is so great. They are like a well of need. So as soon as they see the other person, immediately they want to tell their whole life story. They want to ask for help. It's nothing wrong in asking for help, but they want to continually drain the people, So they are just, their presence itself is draining. And talking to them is exhausting because nothing is right. Always things are wrong. Everybody is wrong. Because they are engaging in blame for whatever state of affairs. That is another way to disturb the people, is by gossiping. That's another kind of disturbance. So people are, it's summer holidays, people are sitting having a good time. All what people don't want much really. Generally people like to have a good time, eat and drink with some friends and family. They have just come together for a nice picnic. And this person goes around spreading tales. That person, how this is, and it just, disturbs. So not only is it disturbing to listen to all these stories about other people, it's also disturbing because one doesn't want to be in that mood. One doesn't want to listen to all these things. And thirdly, it is disturbing because if you know the people about whom the tales are being told, there is a rift between the person and, and whoever is being talked about. So the tale bearer, the gossip monger, the intimidator, the tyrannical person, the bully, the clingy one, the needy one, the greedy one, all these are, emotional states that in excess cause disturbance. And the grabber, of course, this is not an emotional state. The emotional state is the bully who grabs everything from you. Like a thief or someone that you have to run and hide. So this is how one disturbs the people. And sometimes one can disturb in a non-verbal way. You go to a serious gathering, and then how do you go dressed? You shave off one side of the head, the other side you put green color, and then you wear all some leather clothes with big, buttons that look like thorns, buttons that look like nails. That's the idea. And they all have to be really tight fitting. And you go into this kind of a gathering, which is a serious gathering, and there is a dress code also, but you neither respect the dress code nor you bother to even look it up. You just go because this is how I am, this is an expression of me, I am going to do whatever I like. And you may not say a word, you may be extremely well behaved, but it causes disturbance. This is Vishesha Dharma. If you don't follow Vishesha Dharma, disturbance is caused. Samanya Dharma, when you don't follow, you cause disturbance. Swadharma, when you don't follow, you cause disturbance. You see, that's why this is not just for you, it's so that there is a harmony in the society. So Swadharma, when you don't follow, means what? Like sometimes we hear in the news, the mother killed the baby, her own baby, not another baby, her own baby. She killed and put it in the freezer. And then they found, like these kinds of disturbing news. When you read it, you are disturbed. And then all the neighbors were interviewed when this happened. And the neighbors said she was such a nice person. We never knew that this is what she was. All our children were going to play in her house. Thank God nothing happened. Everybody was scared. Everybody was disturbed. So like this, when you don't follow your own dharma. So here she went against Samanya Dharma, which is not to, hurt anything, ahimsa. Then she went against Swadharma. A mother is supposed to protect and care for her baby. And here she, put an end to its life. So all this, so it's not, you cannot say, I don't have to follow Vishesha Dharma. Because it doesn't matter, because it's not right or wrong. It is not abstract. It is appropriate or inappropriate. It's abstract. It is not right or wrong. It is not, enforceable by law. Vishesha Dharma is the appropriateness of my behavior in each situation. And I can cause disturbance if I don't follow. And that disturbance is not good. It's really not good. And Swadharma if I don't follow. Like each time you see the parents abandoning their children, everybody in the society is disturbed when they hear this news. And because the children are helpless and small, and here you see the child being neglected and abandoned. Not for anything other reason, not because they don't have money or anything, but because they are careless, because they have chosen a life of going into addiction or only some kind of self-pleasure, and not able to give up anything for the sake of the child. Not able to, clean up their act for the sake of the child. This is disturbance. You need not say a word, you can disturb silently. Yeah. Even a sadhu by their presence can disturb, because people are not, especially in this country, people are not used to seeing somebody in orange and, going there. So that's why the sadhu has to make the movements such that they cause least disturbance, Certain things you cannot avoid, but whatever you can avoid, you don't do. You can cause disturbance. Because they are not used to seeing somebody dressed like this and they wonder what it is. And so you just are very, very careful and alert to remove yourself from any place that might be causing disturbance. So this is what is called disturbance. So from many sources, people can disturb other people. The emotionally unstable person can disturb. The gossip monger, tale-bearer can disturb. The mentally unstable person can disturb. Of course, it's not their fault because they are not able to, do otherwise. And then the, person who is tyrannical and dictatorial can disturb, and the mafia don can intimidate and disturb, like that. So the sadhu is one who causes very little, zero disturbance. In fact, we have a 2 months called Chaturmasya, even though it's called 4 months. 15 days is taken, Paksho Vai Masaha. So, so the 15 days is taken as a month during this season, and there is no movement anywhere. The sadhu is supposed to stay in one place. Why? Because it's the rainy season. Inadvertently you may step on some creepy crawly worm, poor thing, in the water it's going. So you don't move. You don't travel. This is ahimsa, this is non-disturbance. Anudvega, you don't agitate anybody. You don't carry tales. The jnani doesn't carry tales. The jnani does not intimidate. Bring me bhiksha or else. This is there is no demand there. There is no intimidation there. And so there is no disturbance. The one from whom nobody is scared. Like I have told you in the morning also, I talked about this. Abhaya Dana, the one who gives. The one who says, nobody needs to be afraid of me. I am not a cause for fear. So this is the one. So then, Yasmat na udvijate lokaha. The any lokad where the jnani goes, there is no disturbance. No disturbance at all, zero disturbance, because the jnani is committed to ahimsa and living peaceably wherever they are. So there is no disturbance, there is no advertising. And when you see the people are getting agitated, you drop all, you drop anything that you're holding on to, you drop. Even if it's correct, you have to drop. This is how the jnani leads the life. And we see this so many times. Because there is no argument, there is nothing to do. You just let it go and revisit it another time. Even if it is something correct and it needs to be done, another time it will be done, it's okay. You mention it once or twice and then you let it go. So then maybe, the jnani doesn't disturb other people. But himself, herself is disturbed by the world. By the sights, by the sounds, by all these things. By what people think, the jnani is affected. Can that happen? No. Lokat na udvijate yaha. The one who is not disturbed by the people, the one who in turn does not disturb people. You can say even a mafia don is not disturbed by what people think. He doesn't care what people think. He is least bothered whether you approve or disapprove of his actions. But then he causes disturbance, correct? Yeah. So here the jnani is neither intimidated nor is intimidating. Both those things are very important. Generally speaking, there is a lot of disturbance based on one's own lack of preparedness and emotional maturity of being able to see all that is here is Ishvara. That is why we let ourselves get continually disturbed. The weather can disturb. So hot, so hot, so hot, so hot, so hot. And then 2 months later, so cold, so cold, so cold. So much rain, so much this, so much that. The weather can cause disturbance. And then whether the other person will listen to me, another kind of weather, that is WHETHER. Whether I can influence the other significant other becomes a cause of disturbance. And then what else is the disturbance? Some other people's omissions and commissions become a cause of disturbance. They should have done this, they didn't do this. You see, they had a wedding, they had a big party, and I have invited them to every party. Every time they have come here and eaten for free and gone, this is how the mind goes. They just brought some cheap wine or cheap some juice and ate all the food that was given, and they left. And now they have a big function, they did not invite me. And so the person is so agitated, so disturbed. For weeks, for months, one cannot get over it. Why didn't they invite me? So what? Did you want to go to their house? Actually, I don't like to go to their house. Then why are you bothered? In fact, even if they had invited, I wouldn't have gone. Then why are you bothered? They didn't invite, you didn't want to go. Finished. It's a match made in heaven. You didn't have to make excuses. No, that's no fun. They have to invite and then I have to decline, then there is fun. Yeah. So, the jnani is not disturbed. If anybody invites or disinvites, is not concerned by the other people's omissions and commissions, do not make a dent in the identity of the jnani. Why? Dridha nishchayah. We saw in the first line. Because the person knows who he is, who she is, they do not rely on someone else to tell them who they are. This is the jnani. So when somebody disrespects them or tells them you are not this, you are this, they are not moved, they are not interested. Because they know that the self is the only thing that is approvable. Everything else falls apart. The self is the only thing there is, the self is the only thing that is approvable. So if that is the case, then why get disturbed if somebody thinks, you don't look good, or you have, you are too tall, you are too fat, you are too thin. Those are all body dharmas, correct? So body dharmas, why should anybody get disturbed by body dharmas? I heard somebody say to Pujya Swamiji, I was shocked, but I heard somebody say, Swamiji, you look so old. This is what somebody said right in front of me. And Swamiji just didn't even, just didn't respond, just walked. That is how it is, You look old, you look young, you have put on weight, you have lost weight. What is all this, But this is how the people are, because they see only the surface. And because there's nothing else to talk about. This is what you talk about when you see every other person. And so this is the subject matter does not change when the other person happens to be a jnani or happens to be a swami. The same kind of talk is engaged in. And then, this is what it is. But the jnani doesn't get disturbed. And, I have seen that in so many situations. And sometimes, I've heard people tell Pujya Swamiji, you don't know anything, Swamiji, like this. Because, this is what they were trying to prove a point. Swamiji just keeps quiet, nothing there. One who knows what they know, other people don't have to tell you what is there to know. Yeah. So your well-being, your identity, and your sense of sanity and your sense of self is not given over to the society and the job and the things in it. So your identity is firmly kept with you. Dridha nishchayah. It's not given over to other people. When you give away your identity to other people, then you become a slave for their approval. When there is no self-approval, you want other person's approval. This is a maxim of life. Correct? And so, yasmad na udvajate lokaha, then lokaha, and then the person is not disturbed, and neither does the other people find this person disturbing. Then what? Harsha, amarsha, bhaya and udvegaihi muktaha. Harsha means a madness, mad elation. And Adi Shankara describes this in the Bhashya as an elation that is accompanied by tears of joy and horripilations. That is called harsha. Like when you are so happy that you cry. You cannot contain the happiness. Uncontainable happiness is called harsha. And the jnani is the one in which everything is contained. So there is neither uncontainable happiness nor uncontainable anything in the jnani. So harsha viyogaihi, harsha vimukti is there. Nothing is that elating, nothing is that, exciting, that groundbreaking. Yes, you can be excited. That doesn't mean the jnani is stoic and doesn't respond to situations. You may respond to situations, but that excessive feeling that, oh my God, I finally got what I was waiting for. I was waiting for this. And now I'm ecstatic is not that. That ecstasy and agony, the two ends of this yo-yo is not there for whom, that is the jnani. So harsha. Then amarsha. Amarsha is an interesting word. Amarsha means the amalgam of intolerance, jealousy, and can't stand it feeling, Yeah, intolerance, great intolerance, and cannot handle other people coming up. The Jnani is not like that, because the Jnani sees everybody as an extension of themselves alone. There is no intolerance either of other people or the situations. So Amarsha is in a way lack of titiksha. Really, the Jnani has to be a titikshu, complete titikshu. Who is titikshu? The one who endowed with titiksha. And because the Jnani will not have any kind of demands of the society, and whatever comes, yadrichha labha santushtah, whatever comes the person eats. And I used to watch again with dismay. People used to come and feed Pujya Swamiji laddus, sweet laddus for somebody who is diabetic and insulin dependent, But he would, if they fed him, he would eat it, no problem. He would just say, okay. They would not object to that, because the body, mind, sense complex is given over for the people, really, for the sake of the people. And so this is how it is. So freely does one live that the body itself is a plus, the mind itself is a plus, the senses are a plus. And so, this is how so many stories I can tell you about Pujya Swamiji's titiksha. It's amazing. It's really amazing. Not a word he will say, nothing he will say. And later on he will say, yeah, that was not good, much later. Not in that, not in a way to hurt the people, not in a way when that person who is responsible for that situation is there. Never will a word of unkindness pass his lips. This is that titiksha, the total absence of amarsha. That is something so beautiful to watch. And I feel so privileged to be able to see that. It's amazing. And so harsha and amarsha. So the intolerance and elation are not there. And bhaya is not there. There are two kinds of bhaya. One is the bhaya of the everyday, and the other is a existential bhaya, the insecurity that I feel I have superimposed upon the self. So the everyday bhaya, and then the insecurity that I think is nothing but the self. So the Jnani has both those bhayas are gone. For the Karma Yogi who is dedicated to Ishvara, only the first bhaya is gone. The relative, how the day to day will go, is given over to Ishvara, and therefore there is a happiness there, and there is a lack of conflict, and there is a certain security there. That is a relative abhaya. But here, an absolute abhaya through the pursuit of the self-knowledge has fructified in the Jnani. There is no fear. There is no lesha of fear. And this is described very well in the Taittiriya Upanishad. And it is, it says, Na bibheti kutash kadachaneti. Na bibheti kadachana means does not get afraid. Once one has dedicated one's life to Bhagavan and is totally free from trying to make decisions, trying to produce actions, trying to be the author of the results of action, all of which are just, lead one to the downward spiral of thinking oneself as a doer. When one is free from that, na bibheti kadachana iti. Yato vacho nivartante apraapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidvan na bibheti kadachaneti. Na bibheti kadachana. At no time, is the person insecure in a relative way. When after the study of the knowledge, the same verse is repeated at the end. Anandam brahmano vidvan na bibheti kutaschana iti. Kutaschana means there is no fear of any second source. This is the ultimate abhaya. No fear, because one knows that there is no other. How can you be afraid? Afraid always begs the question of what? The verb afraid is a transitive verb. So it begs the question of what are you afraid? Then you can say, I'm afraid of myself because I don't know the self. I'm afraid of the neighbor. I'm afraid of the father. I'm afraid of God. I'm afraid of mother. Like this, you can have the object of the fear. Whatever you are afraid of, you can say. But here, there is nothing other than you. So who are you going to be afraid of? There's always myself. I can be afraid of myself, right? Yes, if you don't know the self. And if there is some kind of a split within the self. But here, there is neither do you not know the self, nor is there a split. There is no two people sitting inside the self, Jiva and Ishvara, ignorant and knowledgeable. No, there is only one. That is you. All kinds of integrations have taken place. You know everything is you alone. And everything is mithya, you know that. And so knowing that, one is unafraid. Here there is a very nice story told. There was a king in ancient times. Long, long ago, there was a king. The king liked to, hear certain arguments and therefore kept people of different predilections, philosophies to argue with each other so that he could have live entertainment. Those being not the days of talk shows and reality shows on TV. So this was his live entertainment. There was no cable TV. And then what did he do? He had one Advaitin, who said everything is mithya. Mithya Maharaj, your majesty, all that is here is mithya. Everything is mithya. And then he kept one Dvaitin also, just for live entertainment, because those two fellows were always at each other's throat. And the Dvaitin was watching him closely, the Advaitin, and would always point out, see, I told you God is separate. I told you should do this. So once they went to a picnic in the forest, and then a certain rustling sound was heard in the background behind the bushes. What could it be if you are in the forest and you hear rustling sound? What could it be? Some wild animal, correct? Yeah. So what do you do if you hear this rustling sound? Yeah, you get up and run. So the first one to run was the Advaitin. He ran as fast as the legs would take him, and then of course everybody else also ran. It turned out to be just a bunch of tigers that were playing. They were all having their own picnic behind, except that you were the spread. There the king and the party were the food. So so the food ran away, and then so the next day, the Dvaitin said, "You wait, we are going to have a nice sabha. We are going to have a nice sitting here in front of the king." They were all, scholars in the court. And then Dvaitin said, "Maharaj, see, the one who kept saying everything is mithya, he was the first one to run away from the mithya tiger. Look at that." And the king was very highly amused. The king said, "Okay, what do you say? My dear Advaitin, what do you say to that? You were the first one who ran away. And here you say that everything is mithya." And the Advaitin calmly said, "Yes, Maharaj, I did say that tiger is mithya. But when did I say that running is satyam?" Running is also mithya. So from the as though tiger, I as though ran. See, that is one more reason to study Vedanta, because you can never, Vedanta and Sanskrit, it's a deadly combination, because you become so logical that you can never lose any argument. You can never lose an argument. Yeah. So if you have an argument with a spouse, you will only win. Yeah, that's one more reason to study Vedanta. Now more people will come. So harsha, marsha, bhaya, and then finally udvega. Udvega means what? Agitation, anxiety, panic attack. And generally when you look at the nature of the panic attack, when you look at the source of your anxiety, What is the source of anxiety? Only two. Two sources of anxiety. I have something that I cannot handle, I want to get rid of it and it's not going away. Like skin disease. That's one anxiety. Something that is here to stay and it's not going away. Right? And what's the other source of anxiety? I want something that I'm not getting, or I'm afraid I will not get it. So what are the sources of anxiety? Ragadveshas. That's all. So does the Jnani have Ragadveshas? No. The Jnani's Ragadveshas have been sublated in the light of this knowledge. They have actually become Vibhutis. They have become, disembodied from the Jnani. They may hang around more as ornaments. Like Krishna likes the flute. Like this one, Rama likes to carry the bow Kodanda. Like Durga Mata likes to sit on the lion. They have all become Vibhutis, glories. They have become hobbies or glories in the true sense of the word, because there is no dependency. If it is there, well and good. If it is not there, no problem. So there is no fear. Oh, somebody is going to take away my Kamandalu. This Kamandalu has become very expensive these days. Before it used to be so easy to get Kamandalu. Now it is really practically impossible to get. There is one island, African island called Seychelles. Seychelles, so this Kamandalu, this was made of this kind of a gold, a palm gold. Those golds used to just come and on the Indian seashore in the south. And there they used to craft a little, Kamandalu means the water pot of the sannyasi. So they used to, make this water pot, put a copper handle or an iron handle on it, and sometimes even a silver handle and a silver beak, for the water to pour out of. Sometimes they used to do that and give it to the sadhus. Now those people started to carve things out of it themselves. They found out that this is a wonderful gold that you can do lots of things to it. So then they became very careful of not wasting it. They started to sell the fruit and do all this. So Kamandalu material, raw material, is not coming to the shores anymore. So the Kamandalu is a rare commodity. So there was a photo from the Kumbh Mela. You should see it. It is so nice. So the sadhu is sleeping on the Allahabad railway station, and the Kamandalu is chained to his leg. Because it's expensive. He doesn't want anybody to take it away. So just like, that bicycle, you have a chain. So like that chain, it is chained to his leg. What a lovely photograph. Says everything, So that udvega, or that slight fear, that that something I want and I have, which is my identity, without which I am incomplete, is going to go away. That is not there. That is completely gone from whom? That is the Jnani. And this Jnani is the one who is Harsha Marsha Bhayodvegaihi Muktaha. So this is moksha. Free from elation, free from anxiety, free from fear, free from distaste and, what is that called? Jealousy and all the negative emotions of any kind. Free from panic. This is moksha. Free from all the unsavory emotions that I don't want to have. And the unsavory emotions do not rise just like that. There is a reason for them to come. And the reason is my own insecurity. And that insecurity is gone, then the emotions which are attached to those insecurities also do not rise anymore. There is no question of rising. So yaha muktaha sacha me priyaha. Such a person is dear to me. Why? Because they are just like me. I also, Bhagavan says, don't have udvega, don't have harsha marsha. Can you flatter Bhagavan? Can you say, I have composed 1008 names for you, I have composed a Sahasranama for you? Here take. Bhagavan says, Beta, you did a good thing. No, Bhagavan doesn't say that I'll reward you, I'll keep in mind. Remind me, because I may forget. So I'll reward you with some heavenly blessings when you come there. No? And another person abuses Bhagavan with 1001 abuses. That person also is the same. So free of elation if somebody flatters, free of all this, that is the person. Sachame Priyaha. Sachame Priya, because that person is dear to me, because they are non-separate from me. They are just like me. They have sought their identity in me alone. Next one. अनपेक्षशुचिर्दक्षः
अनपेक्षशुचिर्दक्षः
उदासीनो गतव्यथः
उदासीनो गतव्यथः
सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी
सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी
यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः.
यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः.
Yeah. So anapekshah. Apeksha na vidyate, yasya saha anapekshah. Apeksha means a dependence here in this case. Dependence. Something as a prop. Everybody has dependence, correct? There is dependence of all kinds. Even the one who says, I am very independent, is very dependent. The people in the house know how false that statement is. Outside the person growls and roars around, and inside the person squeaks like a mouse in the house. This is what it is. Inside puk puk, outside there is a big front. But here anapeksha means the person knows that the self alone is everything. Anapeksha. And then Shuchihi. We'll just see the meanings and we'll see it at length later on Thursday. So Shuchihi means clean. Inside and outside, clean. Dakshaha. Dakshinamurti like. Dakshaha objective. Dakshaha adept. Dakshaha skilled. So many meanings. Very beautiful word. Anapekshaha. Shuchihi, Dakshaha. Then what? Udasinaha. Udasinaha means the one who is, the one who is not afraid, neutral, not afraid, no, impartial. Yeah, impartial. The one who is impartial is Udasinaha, who doesn't take sides. Gatavyathaha, the one from whom all kinds of fear has departed. Sarvarambha parityagi means the one who has given up the penchant for taking initiatives and having ambitions and acting on those ambitions all the time. Personal ambitions. So the one who has given up personal ambitions and the one who has given up acting upon personal ambitions. So even Sarvarambha Parityagi must not be seen as someone who has given up all activity or initiating anything. Like we have All India Movement for Seva, initiated by Pujya Swamiji, founded by him, which is to help the people who are in difficult circumstances and who need some help. But that doesn't mean that, he started it, that is true, but it's not for his own sake, it's for everybody else. So like that, the one who is devoid of personal ambitions and the one who is devoid of initiating activity for fulfilling personal ambitions. Sarvarambha parityagi yo madbhaktah sacha me priyah. So this we will see the rest of it on Thursday. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Harihi Om.
Yeah, any questions you can ask now. Om. Om Namah Shivaya.